Hi folks, Dave, the Honest Audiophile. This is the Moondrop NekoCake, and these are my Honest Audiophile impressions. I want to thank HifiGo for sending over the NekoCake for a review. Do greatly appreciate it. HifiGo, you rock. Alright, so the Moondrop NekoCake. This is a true wireless TWS device. It has Bluetooth 5.0 and it uses the following protocols: A2, DP, AV, RCP, HFP, HSP, SBC, and AAC. Please note there is no aptX, no aptX HD, and no LDAC. It has a working distance of about 10 meters, so somewhere around 20 to 30 feet away from your device. And the earphones themselves have a 37 milliamp battery in them, so you get about 4 hours of usage out of them before you have to charge them in the case. The case has a 380 milliamp battery. You can get about 4 charges out of that. So you can get about 4 to 5 usages before you have to charge the whole device. As far as charging times, the earphones themselves take an hour to fully charge, and the case takes an hour and a half to charge. The earphones have a 13 millimeter dynamic driver. It has a titanium dome and a composite diaphragm coil. Overall, very simple. You just open up the box. Oh, I forgot to show you the back. You do get a little diagram of the specs and frequency graph if that interests you. You lift off the lid. Inside, you're going to get your carrying case, a USB-C to USB charging cable, and ear tips. And we will talk more about those ear tips in a moment. You also get the carrying case. And there's a little reset and pairing button on the backside. You open it up and you're going to get some lighting that tells you whether or not it's charged or not charged, and if it's charging. And then you have your devices themselves. Now the NekoCake is a interesting design, and I don't mind the design, so to speak. It's a little bit on the fat side. The tips are very, very small, and that's pretty typical of true wireless. It has a very, very short nozzle, and tips are extremely hard to fit. Now, I mentioned the tips specifically because when they go in my ear, these things are the most uncomfortable earphone I have ever worn. The most uncomfortable earphone I've ever worn. And it's not because of the size, because the size, as you can see, is fairly small. It's how they fit in the ear. It puts so much pressure right here in the well of the ear, and it just pushes right here. I can only get about 5 minutes out of listening time before my ears are just screaming at me and just telling me, take these things out. Give me a break. And I'll have to take a half hour to an hour break with these. So needless to say, I did not get to test 4 hours to see if the battery worked because my ears couldn't handle it. They are the most uncomfortable things. So the tips, I took these tips off, and these are the stock tips. And I tried every single tip that I have in-house. Everything that would fit, I tried. Most of them did not alter the sonics, which was a good thing. But the majority of them did not help with the pain. The only ones that I could handle a little bit longer than 5 minutes were the CTM Flexi tips. And as you can tell, a lot bigger, and they're olive shaped. And then also the other tips that worked were the CTM dual flange tip. And both of those, I could wear them for about 10 minutes before my ears were just saying, get these things out of my ears. You are torturing me. The NekoCake is the most uncomfortable earphone I've ever worn. And it's strange because of the size. I wouldn't have thought that they would hurt. But just the way that the body is built and it just stretches the ear and the angle, they just are painful for me. Now, it could be different for you, but man alive, I could not wear these things for very long. As far as all the other things go, they do have a touch control, and that added another problem because when you have the earphone in place, whoops, that's the left. When you have the earphone in place and you go to touch it, it just pushes in very slightly, but it pushes into your ear, and that just killed me. It just hurt and made the pain even worse. So everything about these was just painful. The touch controls were very responsive. They worked very well. They're a lot more responsive than the ones on the Sparks, which I've had trouble with and was always constantly having to get my phone out to change songs or do various things like answer phone calls and things. With the NekoCake, I did not have to do that. The touch controls were responsive, which is a plus. Just painful to touch it. Made me not want to have to answer phone calls, which actually probably wasn't a bad thing sometimes. Anyways, so as far as that worked. The ANC, the noise canceling, it's okay. Is it Bose worthy? No. Is it Samsung worthy or Sony worthy? No. But it does work, and it does the trick. If you have a slightly noisy background, it's going to dampen it and even remove some of the sounding. Like if you have a fan running in the background, it's going to remove that. If a car goes by honking their horn, you're going to hear that. Not as loud as if you didn't have it turned on, but you're going to hear it. It doesn't block out everything, but it does kind of help to soften the background noises, so to speak, and reduce it. How do they sound? Just like with the Moondrop Sparks, you can use the Moondrop Link app and you can choose different EQs. Sure, they change things differently. Some of them have more bass than others. None of them really sounded that great, so I just kept it on the balanced, which was the stock one. Sound-wise is not very good, and again, as I said, it didn't matter which EQ I used. Some of them made it way worse than others. The NekoCake is my least favorite sounding Moondrop. It just sounds thin, has no body, and it really is lacking in bass, and it just lacks in naturalism. It just lacks in just overall presentation. Everything just sounds thin and somewhat tinny, and it just isn't producing a very pleasing sound. Is it adequate for going around town and being in a portable use? Sure. I mean, it wasn't like, oh man, these things are horrid, I'd never want to listen to them again. No, that was because of the pain. But they weren't drawing my attention to anything. And I definitely, I did use them to work out, and they just weren't driving me. I just wasn't getting any get up and go juice from my music. Everything was just kind of meh. It just sounds meh. There's no body to it. It's all about the mids and the treble presentation. And I wanted to like the NekoCake, but they just don't do it for me. I would take the Sparks over them. The Sparks sound better. You at least get some emotion in your music. Even though they're uncomfortable and even though they're a little finicky in their touch controls, the Sparks are way better. They just have better sound overall, and they're just the better TWS. Even though they don't have noise canceling, which is a nice feature on NekoCake, that's like the only thing that I really did like about them was that they have noise canceling. But honestly, I would just go with the Helms. I know I haven't reviewed these, and I probably won't review these, but these are the true wireless that I use on a regular basis, and they're just well built, and they just pop in my ears, and they have a button instead of touch controls, and they respond very well, and they're just comfy. Oh sure, they're bassy as all get out. They're not very musical, so to speak. They're bass head, but guess what? When I'm using them, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for fun, just get up and go, give me some go-go juice for my workout, and that's the Helms. They do the trick better for me. Plus, they have sweat-proof abilities and things like that. So the Helms are just better. The Sparks are better. But honestly, if you're looking for a Bluetooth device and you don't mind using a wired, get an HifiGo Blue. You're going to get way better sound, and just overall, everything about the HifiGo Blue is just better. It just sounds better, and you're going to get to use a device that fits your ears properly, sounds good, and probably even looks better. Moondrop NekoCake. I wanted to like you. I wanted to recommend you. But it's a no on both. It's been Dave, the Honest Audiophile. Thank you for watching. And I'll catch you on the next video. Speaking of next video, somewhere on the screen, subscription link, notification bell. If you haven't already checked those off, don't forget to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to the video. And also check out the links down below for where you can purchase the NekoCakes, and where also music recommendations, gear recommendations, how you can contact the channel, support the channel, follow the channel, all that kind of stuff is down below. Don't forget to enjoy the music, and honesty is the best policy.